Hello there, my very good friends. Andy here for What Culture Wrestling, and on today's news video, 15 WWE stars officially become free agents. We've got the truth behind a controversial WWE injury angle this week. We'll give you an update on a major AEW departure, and finally, a little bit of perspective on AEW's Dynamite ratings as of late. I'm Andy, this is the news. Last one from the studio of the year, so let's make it an okay one. That's the bar I'm going for. Not good, not great, okay, aim high. Let's kick this one off by talking about the WWE wrestlers who, as of today, are free agents, meaning they can appear and sign wherever the heck they want within the industry because their 90-day non-compete clauses have expired. This is, of course, the batch of wrestlers that was released by WWE, or they announced their intention to release is probably the easiest, the most accurate way to put it, because this thing's kind of complex, how these things work. The 15 wrestlers that were let go in September. They are, of course, here's the full list: Mustafa Ali, Dolph Ziggler, Shelton Benjamin, Top Dollar, Riddick Moss, Emma, Elias, Aaliyah, Rick Boogs, Quincy Elliott, Dana Brooke, Mansoor, Mace, Shanky, and Daba Kato. As of tomorrow as well, you can add Matt Riddle to that list because he was released the day after the big group of people were let go. So these releases came in the wake of WWE's deal, their takeover by Endeavor closing. The new parent company came in and they released a bunch of talent. They've also let go of hundreds of behind the scenes staff, office workers, people of that nature as well. So they've made a lot of cuts. I think the way these releases were being reported before they actually happened, people were maybe expecting a few more, but thank goodness, 15 is still a lot, but it's a good job it wasn't more, because people losing their jobs really sucks. Now, there was, of course, a bunch of other people, wrestler-wise, let go at the same time. Performance center trainees, lesser-seen athletes very early on their journeys. So we'd be remiss not to point that out as well. But there is some exciting names on this list. I think the top of most people on their rankings, if you want to put it that way, would be your Mustafa Ali's, your Dolph Ziggler's, and your Shelton Benjamins. Ziggler, the biggest name on the list. He has since announced his return to wrestling. He's going to be going down to Puerto Rico next month. He's competing as Nick Nemeth now. He's been linked to AEW. Obviously, all of these, the majority of these names are going to be linked with AEW because they're WWE's closest competitors in the US. They'll probably try and sign a couple because a bunch of them could add a lot to any product they show up on. But it's an exciting time nonetheless. The way WWE non-compete clauses work is that effectively main roster wrestlers have 90 days, NXT wrestlers usually have 30, unless they've been up to the main roster and back down, then they're usually 90 as well. So Dana Brooke, for example. That 90 days is effectively a period where you are kind of still employed by the company, but it's like a notice period that the company gives you almost, and you can't do anything in that period. You can't do anything wrestling wise. You can't like show up on Impact or AEW or New Japan or whatever. You just got to wait your time out as an independent contractor. But I'm very excited to see a bunch of these names jump back into it. Aside from the obvious ones we've already mentioned, I think Mace and Mansoor have been doing a lot of really fun stuff on Twitter, on social media, and everywhere else since they were let go. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people. I loved Maximum Male Models. I thought it was just a fun, stupid lower card comedy act that popped me every single time. And I'm sure that they, between them, will come up with something really cool and really fun and really entertaining. Look, I'm a Top Dollar guy. I always have been. He's really fun and chaotic, and I want to see what he's up to. And Ali, Ziggler, obviously, big names in all of this. I think if you're maybe more of a sports entertainment-y fan, Ziggler's probably the one you're most excited about. If you're more a work rate-y person, maybe it's Mustafa Ali. Maybe it's Shelton Benjamin, because he's still a heck of a wrestler as well. But a lot of talented names on this list available today. They could show up anywhere they want right bloomin' now. Let me know in the comment section who you want to show up and where you want to see them. Who do you want to go to AEW? Who do you want to go to New Japan? Who do you want to go to Impact? Who do you want to go to MLW? Maybe you want to see Dana Brooke in Stardom. Emma, why not? Let's go. It's an exciting time with all the names moving around in pro wrestling. We're going to talk now about a controversial WWE angle from this week. Maybe didn't get the level of attention that it would have if it was on like a Raw or SmackDown because the viewerships are a bit higher. But the Ridge Holland, Ilya Dragunov angle on this week's NXT. Now, this was taped last week. And there was all kinds of stuff coming out immediately. Dragunov got stretchered by Ridge Holland. It came out shortly after that from Corey Brennan of Fightful that was a work. It's an angle. He's not actually hurt. All of that stuff, which was obviously a relief. But Fightful have come through with another report on this, noting that the angle was meant to play off the real life situation where Big E broke his neck accidentally, obviously, as a result of taking a suplex from Ridge Holland on the outside of the ring. Obviously, Ridge, the perpetrator of this angle here, which is a work, obviously, but they're trying to build on that heat, it seems. NXT sources have indicated that they were happy with the performance and the camera work and the crowd reaction as well. And the producers knew that most people in attendance figured it was a work because it was tapings and they moved on to the next show very quickly after doing this. So it happened in the main event slot of this week's NXT. If you've not seen it, you can watch that. You can make your own mind up about it. The question here would be, should you use wrestlers who have been in this situation in real life in a heat angle of this nature? Obviously, the situation with Ridge, deeply unfortunate, and the guy's received some really, really horrific stuff, and he's spoken about online and elsewhere since Big E, unfortunately, got injured. So the question for you as a viewer and everyone who consumes professional wrestling is this beyond the pale? Is this a level of distaste that wrestling should not cross? Me, personally, I would rather not see this kind of stuff. But at the same time, I do think if Big E was okay with it, did they check in with him? If Ridge was okay with it, if Ilya was okay with it, that's an important conversation to consider as well. So that's the scoop on that angle. If you were wondering about it, if you were wondering why it felt a bit similar, why they were using Ridge in that role, in an injury slot, stretcher, hospitalization spot, that's why they were trying to draw that parallel, it seems. Now, update, we've just spoken about WWE departures. We're going to talk about an impending AEW departure, that being QT Marshall. We've spoken about this quite a lot recently. He's wrapping up with AEW, but according to Fightful Select, he's effectively done now. So his contract expires on the 1st of January, but he's pretty much finished. He's not been backstage recently. He's not been at shows in weeks, and he gave his notice several months ago, of course. He ended up signing a short-term extension with AEW, which I think QT himself has mentioned, if I recall correctly. There was a report going around a couple of weeks ago that when he signed that extension, he figured he'd be getting more of a focus, like an in-ring push, and maybe he was promised that by management. This was the report, you know. You can make of it what you will. That didn't necessarily come, and now he's off. So he was an important figure for AEW behind the scenes as a formatter and some other bits and pieces that we probably don't know about, and he was on screen as well. So there's apparently some outside interest in Marshall already, though. Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling, that trademark has been filed. It's in his plans, but he wants to perform in the ring while he is in his prime, according to this report here. And there have been others, like Dave Meltzer has reported about how QT wants to be featured as a wrestler and stuff like that. So the thing with Marshall is that the only thing that we have to judge on is the on-screen stuff, right? Like none of us can, unless we've worked with him, we can't sit here and go, you're rubbish backstage, completely useless. That gave me a cough. I must be haunted by the spirit of QT Marshall there. But by all accounts, he was an important player there. So, you know, it's difficult to gauge the true impact of his departure because you only see half of it. You only see the on-screen. And obviously, the on-screen, he was featured on and off pretty prominently, like The Factory and all of that stuff. More recently, QTV, but that didn't last that long before it started fading from prominence and wasn't particularly healthy, I don't think, personally, for the likes of Powerhouse Hobbs and others who were involved in all of it. But he's had some fun stuff as well. The Natural Nightmares was a really fun tag team. Had a great match with my boys, the Butcher and the Blade, a few years ago, the Bunkhouse Brawl. So look, QT's contributed positively in pockets. You can judge his on-screen for whatever you want. You don't have to like it. You might think he's rubbish. That's totally fine. That's your opinion. I'm not, whatever, you're entitled to it. But yeah, he's effectively done with AEW now. I mean, that's like 10 days left on his deal. It's no huge surprise. We'll see where he lands. Obviously, he's done the stuff in Mexico this year that he was really great at. The Penta match was an absolute riot, so maybe he'll pick something like that back up. That'd be fun. Now, before we kind of move on to your YouTube community questions of the day, just a little perspective on AEW's recent Dynamite ratings. We don't usually do ratings talk on the news because, like, all the metrics we have tell me that you guys aren't that interested in them, especially the week to week. Oh, they've gone up 50k or whatever, the tiny little shifts here and there. But I think this is a pretty important one to talk about because there's still this perspective that AEW television, ratings-wise, is in the mud, and it's objectively not true. This is a tweet, an X, whatever you want to call it, from Dave Meltzer, just pointing out some facts. For the week of the 12th of November, sorry, I'm getting my dates mixed up. US formatting is different to UK. For the week of the 11th of December to the 17th of December, Raw and AEW Dynamite were the first and second for the week amongst entertainment shows. That's hundreds of stations, 126, times 24 hours, times 7 days a week. Raw and Dynamite, the top two. That tells you how foolish the people talking about how bad Raw and Dynamite ratings are. So, yeah, it's just a bit of needed perspective. It's far too easy for people to look at a number, look at 850,000 and go, oh, it's not a million, it's crap. The problem is that even if they were hitting 1 million or whatever, that same people who are making that point about 1 million would be like, oh, it's not 2 million, and the bar would keep going up and up and up, and it's also disingenuous, it's also in bad faith. Same goes for Raw and WWE's ratings, which are good these days as well, even in the wake of immense competition during the football season. So, look, you can look at the Friday and Saturday numbers for AEW, and yeah, they're lower than Wednesdays. Of course they are. They're in really awkward time slots, and the shows obviously aren't commanding as much interest. So that's a bit of a different conversation. They're not necessarily in the mud or anything, though. I think a lot of these extreme reactions are quite off base. So look, this is just a nice reminder that the wrestling business is really thriving at the moment. We're in a really great place, and if you kind of grew up through like the 2000s and the 2010s, you know that we've not had a scene like this for a long time. We've not had a scene where we have multiple options at the highest level, giving you something a little bit different every single week. For the best part of 20 years, it was one show in town in America at the very least. Yes, you had TNA, yes, you had Impact, but not quite on the same level. It's a good time. Look, it's a cliche, but it's a really great time to be following this inherently stupid sport. WWE is in a great place. AEW programming is in a very good place as well. The Continental Classic has really tightened shows up. And look, they've already sold like 12,000 tickets for Revolution. It looks like AEW's ticket metrics are on the rise as well. Tony Khan mentioned during his Ring of Honor press conference that they are up in Q4 too. It's just a good time, and hopefully in 2024 we can burn some of the terrible conversations that we have on X, on Twitter, to the ground and leave them in this year here. Look, I'm as guilty of it as anyone else. I get involved in the replies sometimes. I don't mean to, but it's hard not to when you've got people coming at you. Let's just be better in 2024. Let's move over now to our YouTube community questions. Positive themes to all of these ones because look, it's my last video of the year. I want to end this one on a high. So we're going to run through them real quick, and thank you to everyone who sent them in on the YouTube community. We will continue using that and X in the new year. We want to get that balance. Not all of you are on X. I get it. Join us on the community instead. Mark Smith has been on. Different platform, same Mark Smith. Love that guy. He would like to know, let's end the year on a positive. What 3 moments from wrestling in 2024 left you with a warm and fuzzy feeling in your tum-tum? It's certainly a sizable tum-tum this year. Merry Christmas, buddy. Merry Christmas to all of you if you celebrate. It's my favorite time of the year. So, 3 moments that made me feel really good this year. You know what, I'm just going to completely go off the top of my head because I could sit here and run down millions of them if I really thought about it. But number 1, Eddie Kingston winning a world title, the Ring of Honor title, obviously, and the New Japan Strong title, beating Claudio, all of that. It's just a feel-good story, and if we're never getting him winning the big one in Grand Slam, winning the AEW world title, this was a nice little substitute. And look, it's Eddie. He makes me feel more than anyone else in the sport, and I know he's the same for a lot of people out there. I would say Sami Zayn finally getting some rewards for his incredible efforts and just for being a really great guy over the years. You know, turning on Roman, getting to be in that angle, headlining his own pay-per-view in Montreal. Yes, he didn't win, which is a bit of a shame, but he went to WrestleMania and he headlined night one with Kevin Owens, his friend, his rival from many, many years, against the Usos, winning the tag titles. An incredible year for him, and it's really been nice seeing him have his rewards for everything he's given wrestling over the years. And number 3, Mark Briscoe in general. I know it's not really a moment, but his continued run in AEW has just filled me with joy all year. He's just such a joyful presence on screen. His character is loads of fun. It feels like a strange fit on this glossy wrestling TV show, and yet that's why it fits perfectly. And you know, a terrible, terrible tragedy befell his family earlier this year with the passing of his brother Jay. But it's been really inspiring watching Mark kind of deal with that and get through that through the medium of pro wrestling, which is the only thing he knows. I love watching that man shine. I love watching him in a big spot, and it's only a shame. It's a real shame, in fact, that we couldn't get to this point earlier. But yes, rest in peace, Jay. But shout outs to Mark. What a year. Just a riot of a wrestler. I absolutely adore Mark Briscoe. Our next question of the day, and speaking of sharing positivity in wrestling, this one comes from Callus Dew, who would like to know, good morning culturists and happy holidays. My question is, how do you feel about Amanda Huber becoming the first person inducted into the Wrestling Club's Hall of Fame? I think it's really cool and was wondering if you had any thoughts about the wholesomeness of a high school wrestling club inducting someone like Amanda. So yeah, we've never talked about the wrestling club. I don't think we have, at least on the news, but look, this is one of the best things happening in wrestling right now, and it has nothing to do with an actual show or whatever. This is just a real force for good in the toxic sludge of social media, and I love every single day when I pop up on there and something appears on my timeline, the kids are watching the matches, you know, or like a list of matches they've watched from like places all around the world, from Japan to Mexico. It's not just the US stuff. It's really, really cool seeing the teacher, Victor Taylor Perry, if you've not seen him on Twitter, doing incredible work with the wrestling club. I love that. Bringing the class together, bringing the students together, trying to, you know, send them to WrestleMania and make dreams come true. It's just, man, it makes me feel really good. It's a force for good, indeed. And Amanda Huber entering their Hall of Fame, I mean, it just really fits. She obviously had to live through the passing of her husband, Brody Lee, and she's come out on the other end. Obviously, she's got the role in AEW where she does a whole lot of good. You never hear anyone say anything but the highest praise about Amanda Huber and about how she has helped people in her position, in her role, in her life as well. So I think it's an incredibly fitting first inductee. And it's really cool to see something that is so just abundantly warm and wholesome as the wrestling club inducting someone like that for their impact, when it's not like, you know, if you're having a Hall of Fame, it'd be really easy to go, The Rock, Steve Austin or whatever, and that's not to say that they haven't made a positive impact, but Amanda Huber, in terms of like wrestling, her impact is almost entirely off screen. So I think this is really cool. Like, it fills, I have a really cold heart, and this fills it with joy. It's just a nice thing across the board. So shout outs to everyone involved with that. Final question of the day comes from Brian D. Action, saying, first off, thank you for all the super high quality content daily throughout the year. No, thank you for tuning in. We couldn't do this without you. Question is, who wins the world title first? Gunther, Cody, Jay, or LA Knight? Yeah. Enjoy your holidays, get some much needed rest time with your loved ones. Thank you, I will, and I hope the same for you. Of that group, Gunther, Cody, Jay, or LA Knight. Let's just do them in order. Why the hell not? Cody's first. I think he's finishing this story. I know there was some stuff, rumors and whatever, doing the rounds on Twitter yesterday about maybe Roman's going to win. and he's going to be... Pardon me, I'm coughing again. See what happens when the nonsense comes out of me. He's going to maybe beat Hogan's record. I don't think so. I think they're going to do the right thing at Mania. Cody first. Gunther, I think once he loses the IC belt, a couple of months will pass and he will enter world title contention. I think he'll be next up. I think he could dethrone Cody, and that'd be really great. Following that, I don't know if we're ever going to see Jey Uso or LA Knight win a world title in WWE, but in the spirit of the question, Jey next, and then LA Knight last. Look, I like all of these people. They're super over. WWE has so many incredibly over baby faces. Obviously, Gunther's a heel, but yeah, like you could make a case for all four, but that's the order I see: Cody, Gunther, Jey, LA Knight. Yes. Look, last video of the year. If you like this one, check out this one. Thank you for all your support throughout 2024. You'll see some pre-recorded stuff popping up on the channel over the next few days, but for the most part, we're going to be chilling. I hope you guys do the same. Thank you so much for your support. I'll see you in 2024. Love you, respect you. See you soon.